8th. The time is 9 a.m. and the Board of 80 County Commissioners is in session for our open business meeting. We have all commissioners with us. Commissioner Patrick Malloy and Commissioner Lachiondo are on WebEx, as well as we've got Bob Perkins on there, Jessica, I believe, Barnawed, and Elizabeth Duncan, and anyone else? I don't think so. And instead of going around and introducing ourselves, just make sure that you sign in the back before you leave, okay? All right, any changes to the agenda, Madam Clerk?
No, there are not.
All right, then. We get to start off with employee recognitions. We've got two really, really big ones today, really big. And we're going to start with really old. And we'll go ahead and start with Tony Gettys, 25 years of service. Tony, is that you back there? Why don't you come on up? Yeah, you gotta come up there. Because I'm going to have Commissioner Lachiondo read a bio here that was given to us. So that way you can actually make eye contact. How's that? Because this is so awkward and weird, and you know, we'll have a proper ceremony when things are back to normal. So with that, Commissioner Lachiondo, are you ready?
I am ready. Okay. Tony Gettys was hired in 1995 as an investigator. In 1997, can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. In 1997, he became an attorney handling child protection cases and misdemeanor cases. He quit smoking. Oh, interesting. In 2000, Tony led the misdemeanor office, which was located at the coroner's office on Morris Hill. After moving into the new courthouse in 2002, Alan Trimming forced him onto the prelim team. In 2003, Alan forced him onto a felony trial team with our chief deputy, Gus Cahill. His first felony cases were before Judge Bale. In 2004, the Red Sox won the World Series for the first time in 86 years. In 2006, he began handling homicide cases with the office's senior trial attorneys, Ammunition, Gus Cahill, Larry Smith, and Ed Odyssey. Shortly thereafter, he became qualified as co-counsel to handle death penalty cases and handled homicide cases as lead counsel in 2011. In 2013, Tony was on the short list to become a district judge. In 2014, Tony became qualified to handle death penalty cases as lead counsel, made the short list to become a district judge for the second time, and was made chief deputy upon the retirement of Gus Cahill. In 2015, Tony made the short list to be a district judge for the third time and contemplated taking up smoking again. It wasn't the Red Sox failure to win all those World Series before 2004? Okay. In 2016, Tony was appointed Chief Public Defender for Ada County and received the Clara Phillips Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Provision of Indigent Defense Services in 2018. Tony is married to Trish Gettys and has 3 children, Nicholas, Jacob, and Katie. Congrats, Tony.
That was quite something. Who wrote this? Do you have any idea?
Jake, probably.
Anyone care to say a few words here? Got anyone? What'd you tell all your folks to stay away?
I did.
Well, we're not going to let you get away with that. So again, when COVID is over, we will have a more appropriate ceremony here. Maybe drink some beers or something. I just want to say thank you for your service. I've been able to work with you just a little over a year. And in that time, just your leadership style just shines. You're just so tenacious. And I think you have just created a wonderful department over there. And I'm really happy that you didn't become a judge. Because then I'd have to take up smoking. So 25 years. Give us a few words of wisdom.
Yeah, I it's not about me. Never is. It's about the people who mentored me, judges, the attorneys I worked for, Emil, Gus, Ed, Alan Trimming, my mentor. I wouldn't be where I am without them. And over the years, I've been around long enough, we've lost a few people, Emil, DC Carr, Larry Smith, Gary Reedy, fine attorneys and friends and colleagues. And now I am the head of an office of extraordinary people. It's an honor and a privilege, and I'm very blessed to be where I am. And I'm not a judge because God knew exactly where I needed to be when I was here.
That's right,
So,
yeah. Big hugs.
big-
All right. Thanks, Tony. Good job, 25 years. It's quite the feat.
Julian's wearing his red sock shirt just for you.
There you go.
All right, Julian. Julian, you need to state your name for the record.
What's your,
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
see something in the chat?
Anyone else want to say, Steve, you want to say something before we move on? Bottomer? Okay, no. It's like, no, he'll cry. All right, let's go ahead then. Bob Batista, 20 years of service. Good Lord, Bob.
I know. It really would be 21 if I had taken a little hiatus.
They've got you back here.
It's good to be back.
Great, all right. Commissioner Laciando, you ready?
I am ready. Okay. Bob Batista is celebrating 20 years of service to Ada County. He was hired during the summer of 2000 as the director of Western Idaho Fairgrounds after spending the previous decade at Metro Park and the Solano County Fair. Under Bob's leadership over the past 2 decades, Expo Idaho has grown into a fiscally viable, self-funded entity of Ada County. Over his tenure, he has brought forward many new leases, capital improvements to the facilities, and operational efficiencies. Some of the newest improvements include the administration office, the main ticket building and gate system, and the now iconic Skyride. He landed these lease deals with the current operator of the RV park and a few different horse racing entities and hundreds of event producers to bring events of all shapes and sizes to Expo Idaho. From Boise Music Festival to Hyaldi to the annual home shows and Motorfest, Bob has played an integral role in growing the use of Expo Idaho. For part of his tenure, he also held the role of Director of Ada County Recreation and Event Services, which includes the Parks and Recreation Department, Open Space, Trails, and Waterways. But anyone that knows Bob knows he loves the fair. It's a year-round process producing Idaho's largest event at Expo Idaho. Bob has created all kinds of types of format and programming changes over the last 20 years to find models that are the perfect balance of what the public enjoys and what is fiscally sound. One of his passions lies in booking entertainment, especially concerts. Under Bob's leadership, the fair has seen many record-breaking stats, including attendance, carnival revenue, food and beverage revenue, and overall revenue. Over the years, Bob has positioned Western Idaho Fair as a leader in the fair industry, winning numerous awards for programs, facility uses, and marketing campaigns through the International Association of Fairs and Expositions. Bob has held many leadership positions with the Rocky Mountain Association of Fairs, the Midwest Fair Association, and the International Association of Fairs and Expositions. The Rocky Mountain Associations of Fairs named Fair Manager of the Year in 2005, and in 2016, he was awarded the prestigious Hall of Fame Award. Bob is the longest-serving director in the Western Idaho Fair's 123-year history. Thank you for 20 years of service to Ada County, Expo Idaho, and the Western Idaho Fair. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Yay. Anybody care to say a few words? I think
Madam
that-
Chair,
Yes, go
I
ahead.
don't know Bob real well, but I can tell you by reputation, I have had many people talk to me about his tremendous frugality, like when it comes to purchasing vehicles and things like that. He will find the bargains out there and keep the budget in line. And as a fiscal conservative, I just really appreciate that. So congratulations on running a very profitable enterprise over there, Bob.
Thank you.
So we lost Bob right when Diana and I came on board that same month and managed to get him back here. I'm so happy to have you back. And
I can't thank you commissioners enough. I get all choked up about it every time because this is a passion I've had here in the city for a long time, and it's just a pleasure to be around you folks. The rest of this room, they're great people. We have a great community. I've lived in a few places, and I can tell you, this is a great shop, and you guys run a good job. And I want to thank you all for, the chance to come
I
down.
have tissue.
I try not to get this emotional, but
No,
thank you.
we thank
Thank
you
you.
too. Your passion, it's just contagious, and we really appreciate everything that you do and continue to do out there. And you've got Sandra Barrio sitting behind you going,
Yep.
yes, I think Commissioner Lagian just said that you're kind of the Swiss Army knife event center now. Phil was a Swiss Army knife for a part of that year, but now you've taken over the privilege because of all the flexibility that you've offered and just your ability to host events and to make everyone feel comfortable and warm and welcome out there and accommodating everyone and everyone's needs. It's just been, a pretty miraculous year. And I don't think with COVID that we could have done a lot of things that we needed to do and get done in a short period of time without you being the leader out there, the leader of the pack, so to speak. So I really appreciate your 20 years. It's a good thing it's not 100, like the fair. But like Tony's, we really want to do something more formal when all this nonsense is over and we can actually, get together and socialize and really pay our respects to
Still
both of
hoping
you.
the party for the county's on, right? There we go.
We have enough acreage that we can socially distance.
Yes.
That would be great. So
Thank
thanks,
you all
Bob.
so much. I appreciate your compassion and interest in keeping me around. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Big hug to you too. And I get to give you a plaque.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you very much, Kendra.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead then and move on to volunteer board appointments. We have an appointment of Richard Llewellyn to the SWAT committee, term to expire May 9th, 2022. Commissioner Laciando, you're the liaison. Any comments on that? You care to make a motion?
Sure. I just want to know, I really appreciate the perspective that Richard Llewellyn has brought to this committee. He has the perspective of being a close neighbor to the landfill, and so while he isn't coming at it from a city perspective or with necessarily the technical expertise of running the landfill, he has that important perspective as a neighbor. So I would move to reappoint Richard Llewellyn to the Solid Waste Advisory Committee.
Great. Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Next, we have an appointment of Helen Carter to Parks, Open Space, and Trails Advisory Board. And I don't believe Scott Coburg is with us, is he? No? Okay, any comments there? If not, let's go ahead and make a motion.
Madam Chair, I did the interview with her.
Oh, that's right.
I felt She
Right.
she was a very good candidate. She's got some equestrian background. She also walks and does a little bit of cycling. And so over in Eagle, a part of the area that might be otherwise underrepresented a little bit on the board. So I think it fills a lot of good slots, and I think she'll be a good candidate and have opportunity and time in her schedule to serve.
Great. Thank you for doing those interviews. You care to make the motion then?
I will.
Okay.
I move to appoint Helen Carter to the Parks and Open Spaces and to the Parks, Open Spaces and Trails Advisory Board to fill an unexpected term expiring September 30th, 2020.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Next, I need a motion to remove the unfinished business from the table.
Madam Chair, I move to
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I move to remove the unfinished business from the table for consideration.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it. Motion carries. First up, I'll need a motion for, we have procurement. Is Bob with us? Perkins, hi, Bob. What do we have here? You want to go ahead and start with the first one, RFQ 20057?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Before you this morning, we have two items under unfinished business. The first is RFQ 20057, the design services for the Trial Court Administration Treatment Court Building tenant improvement. And the evaluation team has completed the evaluations of the proposal, and would like to submit the final rankings letter for your consideration.
Okay,
And if you'd like, go ahead and read it.
go ahead and read it into the record.
Okay. Letter is dated July 28th, 2020, to the Board of Ada County Commissioners from Ada County Procurement regarding RFQ 20057. Dear members of the board, the evaluation committee has evaluated the responses for RFQ 20057. A short list of candidates was determined by evaluation scoring. The short list of firms ranked in order of evaluation scoring are as follows. Number 1, Insight Architects with a score of 92.8. Number 2, Lombard Conrad Architects with a score of 82.2. Number 3, LKB Architects with a score of 81.2. Number 4, CSHQA with a score of 79.4. Number 5, Trainer HL with a score of 77.4. And number 6 is Hummel Architects with a score of 74.8. The evaluation committee would like to request the board's approval of the final rankings and permission to enter into fee negotiations beginning with the number 1 ranked firm. If negotiations are successful, the operations department will put back on the board's agenda for contract award consideration.
Thank you, Bob. Any input from TCA, from Soto Barrios today? Looking good? Yeah. Okay, all right. I'll go ahead then and entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move to accept the recommendation of the Evaluation Committee and award RFQ 20057, Design Services for Trial Court Administration Treatment Court Building Tenant Improvement to Insight Architects.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it. Motion carries. All right. Next up, Bob, it looks like we have a award of bid 20059.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, we have the award of bid 20059, Ada County Noxious Weed Control Raven Viper 4 Plus field computer for your consideration this morning. The evaluation team has reviewed the bids received and would like to submit a recommendation for award letter for your consideration.
Okay, would you please read it into the record?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Dated July 28th to the Board of Ada County Commissioners from Ada County Procurement regarding bid 20059. Dear members of the board, after reviewing the bid submitted, it is the recommendation of the evaluation group to award the contract for bid 20059 to Vantage Northwest LLC as the lowest responsive bidder in the amount of $66,000.
So are you saying it only costs $56,000 to buy a Raven Viper 4 Plus?
66,000. It's a rate controller for their vehicles.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or input? No? Okay, I'll go ahead then. Commissioner Lachiando, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to accept the recommendation of the Evaluation Committee and award bid 20059, Ada County Noxious Weed Control Raven Viper 4 Plus field computer to Vantage Northwest LLC in the amount of $66,000.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Next up, we have agreement number 13810. This is between Ada County and Idaho Power for renewable energy credit purchase and sale. I think that we had this tabled from last week, and I believe Commissioner Lachiando, you're on the liaison, so I know that you've met with Selena, and anything you'd like to state on the record before we make a motion?
No, I just appreciated the opportunity to understand a little bit more, get a little bit of time to understand where we were heading with this. We're going to have some further discussions, but really feel good about the leadership coming from Selena and Jess. So thank you both.
Okay, let's go ahead. Selena, did you have anything to add? Okay, all right, let's go ahead if you'd care to make the motion then as well.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move to approve agreement number 13810 as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the appropriate documents on behalf of the board.
We need a second? Commissioner
Madam
Moore?
Chair, I cannot second this one.
Okay. Anything for the record you'd like to state?
I know these are the renewable energy credits, and it's really, my frustration is this is buying really buying nothing tangible. It's buying the ability to say that our energy is green or, coming from green sources, as opposed to actually just relying on the production that we currently have from the landfill and the dam and stuff. So it's just a system that I don't buy into personally.
Okay, I'll go ahead and second it then. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Okay?
Okay, ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you. And Patrick, if you wanted to get with Selena at any time, I'm sure she'd meet, her or Jess would meet with you as well, if there's any other questions. Let's go ahead and take up new business, and we're going to open the public hearing on tentative, or for a tentative FY21 budget adoption. We have Phil McGrain on bridge with us to present the tentative budget. Phil, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. We're finally kind of the final stages of the budget process for this year. We had the public budget presentation released last week. I think we had a couple write-ups regarding our budget, but mostly just people thrilled by, again, our budget tool this year, being able to share that and people access that information. We haven't had, surprisingly, we did put out the information to solicit additional feedback, but we have not received any feedback. So in case you're wondering why I haven't seen anything, nobody submitted anything to us at this point. Today we have multiple hearings that will take up, and it's to adopt the tentative budget. So Commissioner Malloy, this is probably more new for you than the others. This is a first step in adopting the budget. This is not the final adoption of the budget. At this point, though, after making this adoption, the budget can no longer go up. It can only go down. So if we receive any additional feedback, you can adjust it downwards, but in terms of the total amount, this is it. I think so far we've all been fairly settled in terms of where we are. So you should have motions available to adopt each of the respective budgets, and we'll do the same thing for EMS here in a little bit. Kathleen is also on with us today and can answer any questions if you have any regarding the budget. I will note we're scheduled right now to adopt the final budget on August 11th, so in a week from now, and kind of basically get that done, and then mid-September, so September, we will set the levies, both for us as well as the other taxing districts, and we'll have more conversations as we get closer to that as well.
Okay. And the budget amount is, the tentative budget amount, you want to state for the record?
Yes, sorry, Madam Chair. Kathleen, do you mind?
Kathleen, I didn't see Kathleen on with us, Phil.
I see. Give me just a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Sure.
Yeah, Commissioner Lacciando or Commissioner Malloy, would you care to make any comments regarding this year's tentative budget? Commissioner
Well,
Lacciando.
the budget process feels like many moons ago, but it really was a short time ago. We all walked through that together, and just want to reiterate and my thanks on behalf of all the hard work that the departments did, the offices, just the process to get us where we wanted to be. And it was, dare I say, a very pleasant process, and really appreciate everything everybody did.
I just also want to thank the elected officials and the department heads for all of us early on linking arms and really committing to not taking an increase in taxes and keeping the budgets flat. And it took a lot of work to do that, and I really appreciate that. Again, it made our lives a little bit easier this year. So thank you, everyone. Commissioner Malloy?
All of that, I felt very fortunate to come in a year where, the department heads and everybody collaborating did the heavy lifting, and it was a much easier time for me, certainly, to go through this process when I knew that we would be able to keep it flat. So it was, yes, very thankful.
Yep. All right, Phil?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think just to note as well, all the work that the departments and offices did this year really paid off. I think I can say both from Kathleen and I's standpoint, this is the smoothest that the budget process has gone. And really it was because all the guidance that was provided by you guys at the beginning and the outset and everyone's focus. And I think by coincidence, right, all the conversation regarding property taxes this year and just us starting to cut back before COVID applied really made a difference. So, Madam Chair, the total Ada County budget as proposed is $284 million, $212 million. That's actually down $3.3 million from last year in terms of the total budget, which I think is a huge success that we were able to reduce our overall spending this year. And as I mentioned, this is the time to make that tentative adoption. And I think Commissioner Lasciando or Commissioner Malloy, I'm hoping that you have the motions for those.
Yep, you do.
Have it.
Commissioner Malloy, you want to
I'm ready to
make
make the motion.
Okay, Commissioner Lasciando, go ahead.
Oh, Commissioner Malloy, if you'd like to, go ahead.
Wait, hold on just a moment, Madam Chair.
Yes.
A correction on my part. And I think this will match the motion that you have. So I was referring to the cumulative budget when I mentioned the $284 million and it being down. For this portion, which is the county funds, it is 266, 309, $644 million for this portion. We will adopt the other portions, which will add up the amount that I referenced.
Okay, so $266,309,644. Okay, Commissioner Lasciando?
Yes, happy to make this motion. Also just want to, I'll keep banging this drum, note for the record, that Medicaid expansion sort of, as promised, has yielded some pretty significant savings for us as a county, and we can expect that to continue. So looking forward to that. Madam Chair, I move to consider and publish the tentative budget for all county funds and the pest and mosquito abatement districts as submitted by the county budget officer, causing a notice to be published setting forth anticipated tax revenue, property taxes, and proposed expenditures, and stating that the Board of County Commissioners held a public hearing for comment and feedback on June 9th at 6 p.m. and posted the budget presentation, which reviewed all the county funds and the pest and mosquito district's request to the county's YouTube channel July 20th, asking that comments be submitted by email, and will subsequently fix a final budget and make appropriations to each office or department of the county and the pest and mosquito districts at the August 11th, 2020 open business meeting.
Okay, before we vote, I'll go ahead and just make sure before we close the public hearing if there's any other further comments or testimony. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and vote. Commissioner Lasciando made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. All right, so that did include the pest district as well, county funds and the pest and mosquito district, correct, Phil?
That is correct, Madam Chair. We'll take up EMS.
EMS separately. All right, so then we can move to resolutions. And we'll need to open the public hearing on resolution number 2531, sole source contract for software upgrades. Do we have anyone here to comment on this? Bob Perkins, any comments on this?
Madam Chair, no real comments on this. This is a resolution that I think is done every year in support of the Motorola trunked radio site.
Okay, this is, yep, we've got two of them here. Okay, then any further comments? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Take up a motion, Commissioner Malloy.
Madam Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2531 as listed on the agenda.
Okay, we need a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it, motion carries. We're gonna, next up, open the public hearing on resolution 2532. Mr. Perkins, this is the same thing, trunked remote radio system, correct?
That is correct. It's in support of a Motorola radio system.
Okay, we'll go ahead then. Any further comments or testimony? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take up a motion. Commissioner Malloy?
Madam Chair, I move to approve resolution number 2532 as listed on the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, we will go ahead then next and take up licenses. I'll need a motion, Commissioner Lasciando?
Yes, Madam Chair. Before I go ahead and make a motion on these, I did want to note, just really appreciate the clerk's office as well as Sergeant Durrell and the sheriff's office for the work that they've been doing to communicate regarding the expectations set forth by the health district with regard to both limiting attendees as well as masks. So appreciate that. And with that, I will go ahead and move to approve and ratify the licenses as listed on the agenda, including 2 license renewals and 1 catering permit, and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, Clerk's Office. Phil, you're up again. Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security of the CARES Act reimbursement update.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just, I guess, a quick update in part for the group. As you, I think, as a board know, we've slowly been moving the trailer operations this morning from out in the trailer. Eventually, you'll see the trailer move and moving it into the main entryway. We're still, our office is still providing the same support and helping doing the screening so that we can determine whether people should actually get into the building. But we appreciate you and Judge Moody and everyone else's accommodations. As the temperatures continue to rise outside, it's become harder and harder to take care of everybody out there. And so I think both to address some of the safety concerns that have come up, as well as just the heat, we appreciate working with us to make that change. And I think it'll help make things run more smoothly as we go forward for the public as well.
Thank you.
And with that, I'm going to turn over to Kathleen. I mean, we can both answer questions, but Kathleen's been doing an enormous amount of work and trying to get some help addressing some of the CARES Act reimbursements and everything else as we try to keep track of all the funding with that. And so Kathleen can give you an update as to where we stand and what we're looking at moving forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'll turn it to you.
Kathleen,
Thank you,
good
Phil.
morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So I just wanted to give you an update on what we've submitted so far to the State Controller for the $11 million that we have available to us. So we've requested so far $372,000 worth, and we've received a little bit. Our biggest one is yet to come. It's going to be coming in hopefully tomorrow, $281,000. That's for the election expenses that we incurred. So that should be coming in tomorrow or the next day. We have expenditures to date that we haven't submitted so far for the auditor, about $90,000. The sheriff has about $47,000. Coroner's $30,000. IT $73,000. The general fund, so the contingency that we've been given, that we gave to Joe Lombardo for the emergency expenditures, there's about $192,000 there that needs to be submitted. And then right now, currently, we're working on EMS, which is about $173,000. So to total that we have to date of people who actually use the CBD code is about 980,000 as of last Friday. And we did, Sandra sat in on the CFAP meeting last week and again this week, and Expo Idaho has been pre-approved, so the expenses related to having court out at Expo Idaho, those expenses have been pre-approved. So when we get those paid, we can go ahead and submit them and should know that that money will be coming through without any issue. We do have, are there any questions regarding that so far?
So can you clarify for me, Kathleen? So 980,000 is what has been submitted or what's anticipated?
That's what has been charged through the CBD code. It has not been submitted. We've only submitted about 372,000. But like I said, we're working on EMS, which is 173. So we should be getting it in. There's just a lot of detail that goes into each one of those submissions. It takes a lot of time to put those in and then to review them and then to make sure that they get in. And then they always have questions over at the state. So working back and forth between those, it just takes a lot of time. But I think we're getting better at it. So hopefully it will go quicker as we go. We do, if you'll remember back, I think last month, you approved us to submit for ACHD, their request, about $38,000. We have another request now that came through from the Ada Community Library District for $306 for PP&E. So before I move forward with that, I wanted to get your approval in order to submit that. It was all for masks, I believe, masks, gloves, and sanitizers. So,
Okay.
what's your direction on that?
Okay, thumbs up. I don't think we need a motion on it, just an okay approval. You got 3 thumbs up.
Okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and move forward on that. I'll let her know. And that was all I had for the moment.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kathleen. Again, thank you and your whole team, and Phil, for all the work that you guys did on the budget this year. Really appreciate that, and you saved us a lot of grief. So thank you.
So, Madam Chair, before we move on from this topic, and this is something we can kind of further dive into, but I just recently became aware that apparently the CFAC committee has allowed city to use a portion of their total, so in our case it would be the 11 million, to support businesses to provide further support of businesses that have been impacted by COVID. I just found that out at Treasure Valley Partnership yesterday, but we haven't heard anything, or at least I haven't, about this being applicable to counties. And I guess I want to put it out there because we do have some businesses, obviously, in an unincorporated Ada County, and we might want to track that out, and given that we may still have some funds available. So something for us to research.
We'll get some clarification on that. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Phil?
I can just speak to that point. I think I've heard, something similar in terms of what you've heard, Diana, and it's something we can consider. One of the cautionary notes in my conversations with Seth Grigg, we still have a long way to go and a lot of response remaining, particularly if we end up with exposure in the jail. His view is the big 3 that he's watching for at county government are exposures at the jail, the court system as it continues to get, we're delayed on jury trials again, and then the November election, those costs, that fall costs may supersede all the costs we've seen so far. And so that might be, if we're going to consider that might be something better to consider towards the end of the calendar year to see where we stand in terms of our available funding at that point. Also, there's been quite a bit of discussion, and I talked to the governor's office yesterday. There's some anticipation that Congress will amend the rules in terms of revenue replacement. And so that might be another way that the money ends up being applied, is being able to use it for revenue replacement, whether that's us or other things. So there's a lot of evolution, I think, that everyone's anticipating with these funds over the next couple of months.
Thank you, Phil.
I agree. I think we just want to be mindful that, if you have a business, and I know Boise is already rolling this out, and Garden City is as well. So if you have a business that just happens to be over the line in the area of impact, for example, I don't think we have that many. And it's really, obviously, really, unfortunately, those bars and nightclubs and kind of an ongoing basis that are going to be most drastically impacted. We don't have a big bar scene in unincorporated Ada County, but just something we need to be mindful of.
Thank you. Okay, anything else from the clerk's office?
No, Madam Chair, thank you for assisting us with the budget this morning and for all the work that you guys did to get to this point. I think that's a big success for us. So hopefully we can continue to focus on other things. I know there's a lot to juggle right now.
There is. Thank you. Thank you again. Okay, let's go ahead and take up a motion for the Claims Journal. Commissioner Malloy?
Madam Chair, I move to authorize payment of the claims on the Claims Journal dated July 24th, 2020.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Commissioner Malloy, ready to make a motion on the personnel action forms?
Yes, I move to approve the personnel action forms as listed on the agenda, including 1 introductory period pay completion, 2 leaves with pay, 2 miscellaneous, 1 promotion, 2 step increases sheriff's pay plan, and that the summary sheet remain on file in the Commissioner's office.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Next up, Assessor's Office. Mr. McQuaid.
Madam Chairman, nothing from the Assessor's Office this morning.
Okay. Except you're here, and we want to say thank you for all your work that you're doing as well, keeping people safe over there. Okay, next up, Treasurer's Office. Beth?
Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning.
The important update from the treasurer's office is that we are in preparations for an upcoming tax deed hearing. This is for delinquent 2016 taxes. So these were taxes that were due back on December 20th of 2016. Coincidentally, there are 16 parcels that are eligible for tax deed. So we're in the process of noticing that hearing and making sure that we are prepared. That hearing will be on August 26th. Otherwise, the 2019 tax, excuse me, look at my phone. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
The 2019 tax collection is, for the most part, wrapped up. Our collection rate is currently sitting at 98%. So that was a successful tax drive, and now we're just keeping an eye towards 2020. Those tax bills, again, will go out in November, so we're in the process of updating our notices and taking steps in preparation of that.
Thank
That's
you.
it from our office.
All right, thanks, Beth. Any questions? Okay, let's go ahead then and move on to approval of minutes for the open business meeting. Commissioner Laciando, you want to make that motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to approve the minutes as identified on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, juvenile courts. The pipe replacement project, the ongoing pipe replacement project. Bruce, you have anything that you'd like to?
No, I just would like to get it started and get into it.
Okay, and so we're needing 250,000 from the contingency fund, correct? Okay, all right. Any questions for operations for Bruce? No, I think we know we need to do this. I'll entertain a motion then. Commissioner Laciando or Commissioner Malloy, either one.
Madam Chair, before we make the motion, I'm just curious about the pipe replacement, but in the motion, it's mentioning COVID in the I guess the reason for the combination is COVID stopping this pipe from getting fixed? Is that the issue?
Madam Chair, this is Kathleen. May I speak to that?
Yes, please.
In looking, Commissioner Malloy, when we were looking for funding, this additional funding, the only available place we have is contingency right now, and we're really using contingency for any COVID issues. So the thought is we'll take this 250 from contingency right now, and then if we end up having more COVID issues and need more contingency, then we would open up the budget and use fund balance for those unexpected COVID expenditures that may come that we can't pay for because we use this money for the pipe replacement. Does that make sense?
It does. Now I understand why in the motion the other.
I know it's a
I just
little
didn't understand
squirrely.
how I didn't understand how COVID broke the pipe.
It's a little squirrely. And just so you all know that when we looked at the contingency, Joe Lombardo for emergency management, his authorized spending, he still has $296,000 available to him. And once we remove this 250, we'll have about 100,000 left in the general fund contingency. So we'll still be okay. I feel we have 6 weeks before we our last requisitions can get through. We have a deadline of September 4th for requisitions and realize that we could have others coming through after that. But we should be okay. But that's why I put in that $50,000. If we reach that, we'll do a resolution. We'll increase it so we can spend some more. So just trying to cover all bases in one shot.
Thank you, Kathleen. All right, Commissioner Malloy, you want to make the motion?
Sure, Madam Chair, I move to use $25,000 from the county's contingency for the juvenile detention pipe replacement project.
$250,000.
Hold on just a sec. I think you said 25 instead of 250.
I'm sorry, Madam, let me revise this motion. Madam Chair, I move to use $250,000 from the county's contingency for the juvenile detention pipe replacement project if unexpected COVID-19 expenditures continue to be increased and the unencumbered balance in contingency reaches $50,000 or below before the end of the fiscal year. The clerk will provide a resolution to increase the budget to pay for those expenditures with the use of the fund balance.
Okay, I'll need a second.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. All right, thank you. Next up, weed and pest. We'll need a motion for weed and pest. Commissioner Lachando?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to approve 1 notice of lien and 4 releases of liens for weed and pest as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, we have Expo Idaho events. Bob, why don't you go ahead? We've got 2 that are coming up, it looks like in September. You want to kind of walk us through those number 1 and number 2?
Yeah, the RV sale is gonna be in the west lot, so it's outside, so I really don't have any concerns with that. But the Experience Idaho is going to be in the Center Expo, and I just don't know what phase we're gonna be in. So we can kind of sit on that one if you want to and see where we get in the stages and then bring it back to you. The rest of these are all in 21.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board? You want to go ahead and approve all but number 2, and Bob can bring that back to us as we get closer? Or do we want to go ahead and approve it and then the contract goes in place and then we're looking at a possible refund?
What's the better process for you, Bob?
It's probably easier to just have you approve them and then we'll cancel them at the end here. Instead of having to bring it back down here, we just talk to the promoter and then we're done.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the only one that we really have concerns with. Okay.
Yeah. So if we approve, I just, I know you're already doing this, but just for the record, that, you're having some pretty frank conversations with the event organizers about what this looks like and what the likelihood is of pulling this off.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
With that, we'll make a
So with that,
motion.
Madam Chair, I will move to approve the 8 interim event agreements as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the documents on behalf of the board.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye? Malloy, Commissioner Malloy, did we get an aye from you?
That was simultaneous, yes.
All right. Motion carries. Thanks, Bob.
Madam Chairman,
Appreciate
Commissioners,
it.
thank you.
Again, congratulations on your 20 years.
Oh, thank you for having me back.
Yeah, you bet. All right, next up, we have agreements. Let's see, we have 4 agreements. And do we need to read all of those individually here? We'll go ahead.
You could just approve them unless there's
Yeah, let's go ahead and go through
concerns
them.
about anything.
One's a
I went
Q-Matic.
through them all and I'm comfortable with each one, so.
Okay, self-storage, CenturyLink, and the architects. Okay, all right, then we'll take up a motion for all 4.
Madam Chair, I move to approve the 4 agreements as listed on the agenda and authorize the chair to sign the appropriate documents on behalf of the board.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it. Aye, the ayes have it. Motion carries. All right. Next up, procurement. Final ranking and award recommendations for, thanks, Bob, for RFP 20066. Bob Perkins?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, before you this morning, we have RFP 20066, the Idaho Health Facilities Authority and Ada County request for underwriter proposals for the Ada County Coroner Facility. And the evaluators have completed the evaluations and would like to submit this award recommendation letter for your consideration. Questions?
Okay, go ahead and read it into the record, please.
All righty, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to. A letter dated July 28th, 2020 to the Board of Ada County Commissioners from Ada County Procurement regarding RFP 20066. Dear members of the board, the evaluation committee has evaluated the responses for RFP 20066. A final ranking of qualified candidates was determined by evaluation scoring. The final rankings in order of evaluation scoring are as follows. Number 1, Hyper Sandler and Company with a score of 96.50. Number 2, KeyBank Capital Markets with a score of 90.25. Number 3, Stifel, 87.83 was their score. Number 4, D.A. Davidson and Company with a score of 87.28. Number 5, Robert W. Baird and Company with a score of 83.18. Number 6, RBC Capital Markets with a score of 81.80. It is the recommendation of the evaluation group to award the contract for RFP 20066 to Piper Sandler and Company as the number 1 ranked proposer.
Did you say Sandler?
Yes,
Piper Sandler.
Sandler and Company.
Okay, and where are they located?
I believe they have their office right here in Boise.
Okay. Okay, and their ranking was 96.50, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, it's one of the highest rankings we've seen. Okay, any comments or questions? Commissioner Malloy, Commissioner Loggiando?
So Bob, there's no amount on this yet, correct?
This is a fee structure contract.
Okay.
So the fees assessed, but they had, we did a cost ratio analysis and they had the lowest fees too.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. It's always good news when we can get a local company. Commissioner Loggiando, care to make the motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. I move to accept the final rankings for RFP 20066, Idaho Health Facilities Authority and Ada County request for underwriter proposals, Ada County Coroner Facility, and accept the evaluation committee's recommendation of the award to the highest ranked proposer of Piper Sandler and Company.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. All right, next up, review of bids received and award recommendations for projects 50 to 100,000. We've got 2. Bob, you want to start with bid 20062?
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, we have bid 20062, the Ada County Sheriff's Office Property and Evidence High-Density Firearm Storage System. And we received 3 responses for this bid and would like to submit the letter of the bids received and a recommendation of award for your consideration.
Please.
Okay, letter is dated July 28, 2020 to the Board of Ada County Commissioners from Ada County Procurement regarding bid 20062. Dear members of the board, Ada County Procurement received 3 responses for bid 20062. The following are the names of the bidders and the bid amount submitted. Number 1 was Business Interiors of Idaho with a bid of $76,500. The second bidder was Intelligent Office Products with a bid amount of $45,762.75. And number 3 was Space Saver Intermountain, and they were found to be non-responsive. After reviewing the bid submitted, it is a recommendation of the evaluation group to award the purchase order to Intelligent Office Products as the lowest responsive bidder for the total bid amount of $45,762.75.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any comments? Questions? Let's go ahead and make a motion then. Commissioner Malloy, care to make this motion?
Yeah, I think I've got it. Bob, it's Intelligent Office Products.
That is correct, Commissioner.
Okay. $45,762.75. Madam Chair, I move to accept the recommendation of the Evaluation Committee and award bid 20062 Ada County Sheriff's Office Property and Evidence High Density Firearm Storage System to Intelligent Office Products in the amount of $45,762.75.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. And last up, we have bid 20072. Bob?
Yes, sir. Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, our final item before you this morning is bid 20072, the Ada County Sheriff's Office 2020 AAA Equinoxes. And we received 1 response for this and would like to submit the letter of the bid received and a recommendation for your consideration.
All right, go ahead and read it into the record, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, it's dated to July 28, 2020 to the Board of Ada County Commissioners from Ada County Procurement regarding bid 20072. Dear members of the board, Ada County Procurement received 1 response for bid 20072. The following is the name of the bidder and the bid amount submitted. The bidder was Kindle Auto, and their bid amount was $57,306. After reviewing the bid submitted, it is the recommendation of the evaluation group to award the purchase order to Kendall Auto as the lowest responsive bidder for the total bid amount of $57,306.
All right. Any conversations? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Commissioner Lachiondo?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move to accept the recommendation of the evaluation committee and award bid 20072, Ada County Commissioner Sheriff's Office 2020 Chevrolet Equinox to Kendall Auto in the amount of $57,306.
Okay. Need a
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, ayes have it, motion carries. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and go into recess. Next up, Emergency Medical Services District. All right, thanks.
You're on the record.
We're back on the record for our Emergency Medical Services District open business meeting. It is Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. The time is 10 a.m. And we have all three commissioners present today. Also on bridge, we have Kathleen Graves, Phil McGrain, Bob Perkins, and that's all. And then in the room, instead of stating your names for the record, just make sure that before you leave, you sign in the back. Okay, thank you. All right, any changes to this agenda, Madam Clerk?
No, there are not.
Okay, then, we'll take up, we're going to start the public hearing then. We're going to open it up for the tentative FY21 budget adoption. We'll go ahead and start with you, Phil, if you'd like to present this budget. Tentative budget.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. Just as we did with the last one, we are here to adopt the tentative budget. Again, this is where it can go down but not up. Similarly, we are set to adopt the final budget on August 11th. This is for the Emergency Medical Services District, for which you sit as the board. I should have mentioned it earlier. The other end, all of the budgets presented today are balanced budgets. For the tentative budget for Emergency Medical Services District, it is $18,133,122. This is the budget we discussed, and it includes the additional 3% increase to cover the additional expenses experienced by EMS. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll answer any questions, but I think that Commissioners, you should have a motion regarding this, the adoption of this budget.
Okay, thank you. Director Boyinger, did you care to say anything before we adopt your tentative budget?
I don't have anything to add at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, Commissioner Lachiondo, care to make the motion? We'll go ahead and close the public hearing then.
I'm happy to. Before we do, I'm just, really grateful that we, I think, took a balanced approach to this budget instead of sort of a one-size-fits-all approach. We have some structural issues with how EMS is funded. And then secondly, we recently realized that through our impact fee conversations, EMS is not eligible for impact fees in the current impact fee statutes. So that's something we might try to look at the legislature, but it's from my perspective, all the more reason that it's incumbent upon us to be nuanced about this budget. So with that, unless there's more discussion, I will make a motion.
Okay, we've closed the public hearing. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, Madam Chair, I move to consider and publish the tentative budget for the Emergency Medical Services District, hereinafter referred to as the EMS District, as submitted by the County Budget Officer, causing a notice to be published setting forth anticipated revenue, property taxes, and proposed expenditures, and stating that the Board
Okay,
of
Diana, we can't hear you. You're cutting out. Try.
I can hear you a little, but you definitely drop way down.
Yeah, try it again.
Let me try it again. Okay, let's do it again. All right, I move to consider and publish the tentative budget for Emergency Medical Services District, AKA EMS.
No, we're not able to hear you. Commissioner Lachiando, we're not able to hear you. Commissioner Malloy, would you make the motion?
I will.
Okay.
I move to consider and publish the tentative budget for the Emergency Medical Services Disaster, hereafter referred to as EMS District, as submitted by the County Budget Officer, causing a notice to be published, setting forth anticipated revenue, property taxes, and proposed expenditures, and stating that the Board of County Commissioners held a public hearing for comment and feedback on June 9th at 6 p.m. and posted a budget presentation which reviewed the EMS district's request to the county's YouTube channel on July 20th, asking that comment be submitted via email, and will subsequently fix a final budget and make applications to the EMS district at the August 11th, 2020 EMS open business meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it, motion carries. All right, next up, Claims Journal. Commissioner Malloy, do you want to go ahead and make that motion as well?
I will, yes. I move to authorize payment of the claims as listed on the Claims Journal dated July 24th, 2020 regarding EMS expenditures.
Okay. You need a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, ayes have it, motion carries. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and go into recess, and we'll get right back on the record for Avamor Community Infrastructure District.
You're off the record. You're on the record.
All right, good morning. It is Tuesday, July 28th, and the time is 10:05 a.m. Board of 80 County Commissioners is in session to meet with Avamor Community Infrastructure District Number 1 staff, as well as our attorney. I'm going to go ahead and have you guys state your names for the record since there's very few of you. Go ahead, we'll start.
Dan Richter,
Dan.
Avamor.
Hmm.
Jeff Bauer, Gibbons Pursley.
Hammond Taylor, Prosecutor's Office, Counsel to the District.
Adam Christensen, Holly Troxel, Bond Counsel.
Christian Anderson, Zions Public Finance.
Okay, great, thank you. And on Bridge, we've got Phil McGrain, Bob Perkins, Sonia, is it Danielson? Daladin.
Sonia Delighted with Kittleson and Associates. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. All right, welcome. Any changes to this agenda, Madam Clerk?
No, there are not.
All right, we're going to go ahead then take up new business, and we're going to open the public hearing for the adoption of the tentative FY21 budget for Evermore Community Infrastructure District Number 1. And we'll start with you, Phil McGrain, to present this tentative budget to the board.
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm prepared to present the tentative budget, just like the other tentative budgets we just adopted. This is specific to the Avamor Community Infrastructure District Number 1. The total amount for the proposed budget is $288,446. I will note Kathleen is also here. Last week you had asked for her to be able to answer some questions in terms of the Avamor budget and how that works, because obviously it's a little different. So Kathleen can help answer any questions regarding the Avamor budget, but this is the adoption of the Avamor budget for the coming FY21 year.
Okay. All right. Any questions or any comments that anyone would like to make in the room? No? Okay. Commissioner Lachiando, Commissioner Malloy, any comments or questions before you make a motion?
I don't think so.
All right, go ahead, Commissioner Malloy.
Okay, I move to consider and publish the tentative budget for the Avamor Community Infrastructure District Number 1, hereinafter referred to as the CID District, as submitted by the county budget officers.
Okay.
Causing a notice to be published setting forth anticipated revenue, property taxes, and proposed expenditures, and stating that the Board of County Commissioners held a public hearing for comment and feedback on June 9th at 6 p.m. and posted the budget presentation, which reviewed the CID district's request to the county's YouTube channel July 20th, asking that comments be submitted via email and will subsequently fix a final budget and make appropriations to the CID districts at the August 11th, 2020 CID open business meeting.
Okay, and I wanted to make sure I closed the public hearing on that before we take a vote. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
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 Aye, ayes have it, motion carries. Next up, we're going to open the public hearing for Avamor Community Infrastructure District Number 1, Series 2020, General Obligation Bond. This is a finance request resolution number 2533. And this is, do we have anyone here to present this? Yep, go ahead.
We do.
Jeff? That's fine, yeah.
All right. My first time in the setup, so I apologize.
That's fine.
Jeff Bauer from Gibbons Pursley here for Avamor.
You can take your mask off and I'll keep mine on.
If you can hear me, I don't
Okay,
mind.
that's fine, okay.
I did put a little slide deck together. I don't know if that's feasible here, but I don't know if it's necessary. But if there are some logistical questions about maps, I have those available if we want to
I
get them
would love to see it, if you guys can share it. We're still not seeing the screen from
So
the
Luke,
public hearing room.
they're still not seeing the public hearing room. And then Jeff would like to share a slide deck. Where do you have that? On your phone?
Madam Chair, for clarification, we see you in the room now. We don't see any shared screen information.
Oh, well, if he shares a screen on, you have a WebEx?
I have my WebEx open on my phone.
You're connected to there?
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna give it a shot here. You know how to do the shared content?
Give it a shot.
Okay. We're gonna try to do it on the mobile.
There we go.
Ta-da.
Sorry, Commissioner Lasciondo, that's not great, but I think it'll work.
Let's say, you know what? It's very helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, Madam Chair, Commissioners, again, Jeff Bauer here on behalf of Avamor, and Sonia Delyden with Kittleson's here as well. She's our traffic engineer, and she provided an exhibit to this financing request, and she's available for any questions on that or about the engineering or projects, if you have any specific detailed questions on those. Okay. So again, we are here on a financing request. There are three components to this financing request. The first is a reimbursement request for projects already completed. And the second two components are for new projects, an underpass, as well as some acceleration and deceleration lanes on Highway 55. Both projects that we're proposing here are part of the district's general plan that was adopted in 2015 when the district was formed. I'll kind of go just in order through the projects, but feel free to interrupt me as I go. First is the reimbursement. We're requesting $523,000, $718, I'm sorry, to refund Avamor for advances that were made to the district for two previous projects approved in 2018. Those projects were the extension of a collector road, Avamor Drive, as well as the creation of the new north access at the intersection of Highway 55 and McLeod Way.
Do we know why those weren't just approved ahead of time versus going around this way with the reimbursement?
So those projects were funded through a different kind of bond, a special assessment bond, and the capacity that we had at the time wasn't sufficient to pay for those two improvements. So pursuant to a development agreement with the district, Avamor agreed to advance the funds and seek reimbursement at a later time with funds generated at a later issuance.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have your financing request in front of you, but on page 8, there is a breakdown of the costs of that project as well as Avamor's contributions. So if there aren't any more questions on the reimbursement, we think that's pretty straightforward.
That was $523,718.
That's correct,
Okay,
Madam Chair.
okay.
So, Madam Chair,
Commissioner Malloy?
so as a special assessment, is the cost of this only being applied to homes that are currently built, or will it forward go on to each spot as it's developed and built out?
Commissioner Malloy, great question. So today we're actually here for a general obligation bond request, which means that it's applied like an ad valorem tax on the entirety of the property within the district. The previous bond in 2018, it was a special assessment bond, and it does apply to specific properties within the district until it's paid down.
So I have another follow-up question on the reimbursement piece. That was that noticed the same way? Do they have the same noticing requirements?
Madam Chair, when we did the 2018 special assessment issuance, there is a hearing required because you're creating a new little assessment district. As part of that whole process, the board passed a reimbursement resolution. So there was no specific notice required for the reimbursement specifically, but it was part of the process as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah, and if I, maybe just a point of clarification.
Okay, Emmett.
So there was noticing requirements for that special assessment issuance. There was.
Okay,
Special assessment.
so there was,
issuance
okay.
occurs, which included the.
Okay, and then when does this board get evidence of the noticing requirements being met? Is that something that we get, or we haven't in the past? We need to ask for that, or?
I'll fill that one, Madam Chair. Each at the special assessment, when you pass your resolution, your council and the bond council, and the prosecuting attorney, they all provide letters and warranties that the process has been followed correctly, and that's included in the recitals to the resolution typically.
Okay, that's where we get that. Thank you. Right, okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so moving on, again, the reimbursement we think is pretty straightforward. We already have the resolution in place for this. It allowed up to $750,000 to be reimbursed, and again, we're asking for $523,718. So now turning to the new projects. First is the Underpass Structure, and bear with me here, I'm gonna try to use my phone here to help. So the underpass would be located north of the current intersection at McLeod, and it would allow district residents to move east to west underneath State Highway 55 so that there's no effect on the flow of Highway 55.
Yay.
Right,
Good.
right.
What's the date on that, estimated finish date?
We'd like to complete this project by the fall of 2022.
2022.
So just some more detail about the underpass. I'm gonna toggle over here. This is kind of what we anticipate it would look like. 2 lanes of traffic with pedestrian connectivity as well, detached sidewalk, and then a multi-use pathway. We're thinking for equestrian or bicycles.
Oh, nice.
And again, this would allow traffic to move freely on Highway 55 and for traffic to pass underneath without impeding that flow. This project works in concert with the second project, which are the acceleration and deceleration lanes. Zoom in on those. So these will be located at the current intersection of McLeod and 55. And really the way it functions is a lot like a highway on-ramp, off-ramp. So if you're coming northbound on 55, there'll be a long deceleration lane and you'll turn directly into Avamor. If you're in the district and you want to go southbound to Boise, you'll take McLeod Way to the north, you'll go under the underpass, and you'll enter 55 from the from the west side, and head south. So that's how we envision the project functioning. And again, Sonia Delighten's here to answer any more specific questions about those.
I have a question, Sonia. So on the acceleration lane coming under the underpass and then getting on 55, I don't know what the minimum length is for those lanes, but I've noticed out in Eagle on Eagle Road, especially the one that's right on Eagle and State Street, that lane is way too short, and there's been accidents out there. So can you give us an idea of what the length of this one's going to be?
Yes, I can. Thank you. So they're based on, the lengths are based on IDT design standards. So the Idaho Transportation Department has specific design standards for how the length of those lanes, the width of those lanes, that sort of thing. And those are governed primarily from the speed of the facility on which those lanes are being built. So 55 in this area, I believe, is 65 miles per hour. So the lanes would be governed by the speed that it takes, or the length that it takes someone to accelerate basically from a stop when they're getting on those lanes up to a speed where they could merge onto the facility. In this case, it's going to be approximately 1,000 feet.
Okay. No, I'm just concerned. I've run across a few of those here recently that are just way, way too short.
Yes, that can be a problem. Of course, I don't know the specific location where you're referring to, but in some locations, that length may have to be adjusted because of physical constraints or right-of-way constraints or other factors like that. We don't see that being a concern in this particular area.
Thank you, Sonia. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Does any of this intend to remove the signal that is currently there at the Avamor entrance?
Commissioner Malloy, Jeff Bauer, at present, no. Long term, we intend to have a similar design at the southern entrance. And that again is a project that the district board approved in 2015 through the general plan. But for right now, the light in conjunction with this separated interchange is what the plan is.
Right, okay, yeah, because I mean, as far as entering onto 55, the light is still an option for people and will continue to be until, these acceleration and deceleration lanes are seen to be safe and performing their function, and then perhaps the light may go away. Is that the idea?
Commissioner Malloy, Sonia drafted a memorandum kind of on this specific issue that's included in the financing request. And I guess I'd kick that question to her a little more, but essentially with the new improvements we're asking for, we expect a significant portion of the current district residents to use the underpass as their primary access. And we also expect some to continue to use the light as well.
Okay.
Okay. Did you want Sonia to also comment on that, Commissioner Malloy?
My only other question was about the noticing. I know you talked about the noticing originally in this resolution package kind of as a whole. Were the residents noticed specifically on these additional revenues that are going for this underpass and the acceleration deceleration lanes?
Commissioner Malloy, no. What we're asking for today is that the board issue bonds, and to pay for those bonds, we will levy a ad valorem tax on the district property. When the district was formed in 2015, an election was held where all of that area consented essentially to being taxed at that rate.
But there'll be no, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, there'll be no separate notice specifically about the issuance of these bonds?
Commissioner Malloy, no. The way the statute works and the way the development agreement with the district works is that you've already approved these bonds up to a certain cap, which is 200 million, and we're not, I'm sorry, 226 million, and we haven't reached that cap yet. So no additional notice is required under a law or under any agreement that we have between the developer and the district.
Okay,
So-
so that cap is accumulative over all of these projects.
Hammond?
Yeah, so maybe just one small point of clarification. So there's no, I would say, additional statutorily required notice aside from the notice required for the hearing to consider the financing request itself.
Okay.
So you do
I'm
have.
sorry, Ax, I can't hear you very well.
Oh, go ahead, take your mask off.
Okay. So the point I was making is that there wouldn't be any additional statutorily required noticing beyond the notice that was provided for this hearing for the board to consider the financing request to issue another series of bonds under the already approved cumulative total that was subject to the election. So.
Okay.
So there was the notice for the hearing today for this.
So, wait, talking about that notice for this hearing today, is that a specific mailer that goes out to these residents? Or just the general public notice that is normally done for this meeting?
Be the general public notice that was posted.
Okay.
And then how do new residents, how are they informed if they purchase after this original agreement was signed?
Madam Chair, great question, and Commissioner Malloy, this I think will help to answer your question as well. So there's two forms of notice, not necessarily for this meeting, but purchasers of land and the property are giving two kinds of notice that this bond can be issued and that this tax can be levied. The first kind of notice is a notice that was recorded against all of the property when the district was formed. And so whenever you go to buy property, that notice shows up on your title report as an exception to title. The second type of notice is the one I have on the screen here, which is required by the CID Act under state law and that the developer administers. And what it does is at every closing, the developer has this notice in front of the purchaser that says, hey, you're in a CID. We can provide services to you that may not otherwise be provided because of that. And here are the levy rates associated with the bonds. So I don't know if you can see that, but essentially it shows you what let's say your assessed value of the home is $300,000. We expect the general obligation tax to be about $930 a year, the special assessment tax to be $342 a year, for a total of $1,272 a year. And that's before the homeowner's exemption, which is this other column over here, which reduces that amount by about $278. So all purchasers of property in the district see this notice, and they actually are required to sign it on the second page here, which this was a closing that just happened last week. These particular purchasers signed this notice agreeing to be subject to these taxes.
Okay. Have you calculated what the estimate amount is going to be for an average $300,000 home?
Today?
For this?
We have. And so if I can scroll down a little more.
Mr. Rector? Yeah.
I'm sure, while Jeff's looking for that, I wanted to point out that prospective purchasers, when they come into the sales office, are asked to sign that, given that prior to signing the contract. And then again, when the home is finished and they go into title asks them, puts it in front of them again. So they're noticed on it twice prior to the purchase. And our agreement with the county or the district was that we would keep a record So we have some binders there with every single purchaser and a copy of the notice that they did sign at closing.
Okay.
And we also in our files have the one that they signed earlier when they first purchased the home.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, to answer your question, we did calculate that. It's on the second to last page of the financing request. So for a $300,000 home with the homeowner's exemption today, we think it would be approximately $946 per year with both the special assessment and the general obligation levies.
Okay, so within that range, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay.
All right, I've gotten way off track here. So here's a quick project cost summary. I know that's way too small to read, but the bonds we're asking you to issue today are not sufficient to fund both projects. The first project, the underpass, we think will cost approximately $1,520,860. The acceleration lanes would be $551,320. And working with Ammon and bond counsel Adam Christensen, as well as Kathleen Graves, who's extremely helpful through all this, we've determined that we expect our bonding capacity to be approximately $2,350,000. So we expect a contribution from Avamor, from the developer, of approximately $245,898.
All right, so then the total for the underpass and the lanes, what's the $1,528,860 plus the $551,320? What's the total?
So I have, I'm pulling it up on the screen there for you, so it might be more helpful, but with the reimbursement that we're requesting and the two projects, the total cost is $2,595,898.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, $2,595,898. 67.
Okay. All right.
And I expect bond counsel will touch on this at some point, but we actually expect the developer's contribution to be quite a bit higher after we factor in the expenses of the transaction, capitalized interest, other things as well. But in any event, if the cost of the projects is higher than we estimate here, the developer covers that. If the bonds don't end up yielding the amount that we think they will, the developer covers that. So that's how that functions.
Okay. Ammon, you're here to tell us that that's how that works in the contract?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's the arrangement, and as Jeff alluded to, there will be some cost of issuance, capitalized interest associated with paid out of the proceeds, and then reduction in the amount available for the projects would be covered by contribution by the developer.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, and then I know this question came up a lot amongst Ammon and Adam and I, so I just wanted to touch on it, if I may, Madam Chair.
Sure.
So these projects are outside the boundary of the current district. They're north, they're in Boise County. And we just wanted to make sure to touch on the fact that that doesn't affect the district's ability to finance these projects. What Idaho law says is that as long as the projects have a, quote, substantial nexus to the district and directly or indirectly, I'm going to start over because I'm quoting. Quote, a substantial nexus to the district and directly or indirectly benefit the district can use their bonds to pay for that infrastructure. And that was really the purpose of Sonia's memorandum. We wanted to make sure to carefully analyze this issue and provide you with evidence that these projects do have a nexus and do benefit the district. So if there are any questions about that, Sonia can definitely weigh in on that issue as well.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Lachando.
I guess I'd like to zoom into that question a little bit. So is the financial viability of these projects really paying off for Avamor dependent on Eagle annexing into Boise County and the development of those 10,000 homes in that area?
Commissioner Lasciando, you're very quiet. I'm having trouble picking it all up, but I think I got the question. If I miss it.
Why don't you go ahead and repeat it?
Okay.
No, not you.
Sure.
I mean, you.
Oh,
Go ahead, Jeff.
I think the question, Commissioner Lasciando, is do we need this bond to move forward with our projects?
No, the question is, does Eagle need to annex into Boise County, and for that piece of the Avamor larger development need to be approved in order for these roadway projects to ultimately pay off for the developer?
Commissioner Lasciando, no. These projects were planned again in 2015 to be implemented with the current build out that's already been approved by Ada County. So the current planned community area.
I just don't want to get into a situation where, I guess what I want to back up and say is Avamor is working with multiple different governing entities to execute. You're working with Eagle, you're working with Boise County, and I'm worried we're going to get into a situation that sometimes occurs with ACHD too, where we ultimately are kind of pointing fingers at each other about who's approving what. And I want to be clear on the record then that approval of this does not precipitate or require that annexation needs to occur.
Commissioner Lasciando, no. I believe they're completely independent.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess to kind of add on to that, there are a lot of governmental agencies involved here, but one thing I think that's unique about these projects and our future projects that we want to ask the CID to fund is that they're all ITD projects. So it kind of limits the nature of who's at the table, which I think can be helpful. And we know that ITD is excited about this mechanism to help improve Highway 55 in this area.
Okay. All right. Move forward.
I think I've covered everything I want to cover. If there are any more specific questions, please go ahead and I'm happy to answer.
Any questions for Jeff?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Commissioner?
Since you mentioned ITD, then is it possible that there are any federal highway dollars that'll help offset some of these expenses?
Commissioner Malloy, not to my knowledge, not at this time. I'm not aware of that, no.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move to bond counsel. You have anything to add?
I don't, I'm happy to answer questions to the extent there are questions about sort of the original GO approval process. To the extent there are questions sort of on the prior special assessment bond issuance, and questions about this bonding process, but otherwise I don't have anything in addition to add, but happy to answer questions if there are any.
Any questions for Adam? Okay, any questions for developer, Mr. Richter's here? Dan? All right, are we ready to make a motion?
Madam Chair, more of a comment, I guess, than a question. I would hope that if a entity like Avamor, like this, comes about again, that I'm okay with the fact that people are given the documents they need to sign to be aware of these bonding possibilities. I would hope if we do this in the future, if we set anything like this up, that there might be some requirement for notice, when individual notice, when specific new bonds are being proposed or sought. Even though they are aware of the cumulative total that they are signing on to by purchasing in this area, I would be more comfortable if they specifically noticed each time a precipitating event was occurring.
Well,
Just
Commissioner
again,
Malloy,
going forward.
Commissioner Malloy, this board can ask them to go ahead and do that if you want to, if we want to make the motion and add that a notice would go out, that this is happening. We can certainly ask them to do that.
Madam Chair, if
I
might-
would really, in that event, then be more inclined to table and prefer that a specific notice goes out on this event.
Okay, Mr. Richter?
I just wanted to note that prior to the COVID shutdown, twice or once a month, I do a developers meeting, and any of these things, for instance, these projects are all discussed with anyone that shows up. Every other month, I'll either do it early morning from 7 till 9 or from 5 till 7 in the evening. With COVID, we've not been able to do those meetings for the last couple of months, but we have presented these drawings and everything to the Avamor residents at all of the meetings prior to that and discussed it with them. So,
Okay, so
so
you've
we
been,
are, I mean, it's not been a formal notice, but we try to keep everybody aware of every project we're working on.
okay, Commissioner Lachiondo, thoughts?
Well, given that, as Mr. Richter has noted, COVID has forced all of us to change how we operate, I'm inclined to go with Commissioner Malloy here. I think over communication can't hurt. So whether that's something we direct in a motion right now, which we could do, or if Mr. Richter felt he wanted to develop his own proposal and come back to us next week, we could do that. But I similarly am inclined to over communicate when we're talking about asking for more money.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I
Yes,
could.
Jeff.
Commissioner Malloy, I understand the request here for notice, and Commissioner Lachiondo, I certainly appreciate your invitation for us to maybe tailor this to meet the goals of the board. I guess if you could give us a little more direction on what it is that you'd like to achieve with the notice, that would be helpful, because essentially this meeting would be, are you saying that you just want to let people know that you're intending to levy the funds that they agreed to?
Madam Chair, I'll speak to my idea. I mean, I'm simply asking, I guess, that a postcard go out so that there is the opportunity for the public to speak on this specific bonding project, that we get all their input. I understand and agree that they did sign on to this, that when they bought their home, that they agreed to it. But I think when big chunks or big projects are taken on, it would be nice for the simple fact of their opportunity to read their comments or concerns into the public record would be noted to them before this board makes a final decision.
Commissioner Lachiondo, are you in agreement with that? Or are you ready to make a motion?
So if I'm tracking with where you're at, Commissioner Malloy, you would propose tabling this until a postcard could be mailed out to the residents so that they could submit comments.
That's really all, yes, that is all I'm asking for, is that I think, especially given COVID, that the collecting and realization of information and things being done, we might normally have more people in this meeting from that community if COVID were not in place. And I think just given the circumstances, it would be nice to have them have the opportunity to make comment.
So Jeff, if we did 14 days, table this for 14 days, would that give you enough time to mail out something and get feedback without putting this in any kind of jeopardy because of timing?
Madam Chair, I believe so, but if I could just make two quick points.
Mm-hmm.
So, Commissioner Malloy, I still think I need a little clarification on if you want residents to weigh in on the project and its vitality or usefulness versus the taxation issue.
I think vitality and usefulness, given the fact that they'll be paying for it, and the fact that it is actually outside of the physical district itself, I think warrants the additional notice.
Thank you, Commissioner Malloy. And I just make one quick clarification too. So these general obligation bonds, we've issued 2, and I think the collective amount is in the neighborhood of $400,000 over the last 4 years. So every year we don't issue one of these, the levy for that goes down. So if we don't issue bonds, taxes decrease. They don't stay static. And because we're delaying these, it's creating sort of a cliff. And the longer we delay this, the bigger the bounce back will eventually be. We want to try to get this bond issued every year so that taxes stay steady, and you guys don't get the calls saying, hey, why are my taxes going up? So I just wanted to make that clear that if we don't do this, taxes won't stay static, they will decrease, and the district's levy will almost be 0.
Absolutely, and Madam Chair, I appreciate that, and I'm not opposed to the project. I don't want to give the impression that I don't think that the project itself has merit, but I'm not a resident in that community. It does, as you said, you've had to sought specific legal advice that it falls outside of the physical boundary of the district, but it adds value, and I understand that argument. I just want to let the homeowners have their say with respect to that argument, since it's funding that they're going to be on the hook for.
Understood, thank you. And I guess just one more clarification. We're here on 2 different things. One is a reimbursement, which I think the board has essentially already agreed to. And the second is the project. So I don't mind waiting 14 days for this notice, but if we get to the 14 days and this board thinks we need more notice or has issues with the project, I would just like to say that we'd like to move forward at least with the reimbursement amount at that time.
I have no intention of holding it up beyond. If 14 days gives you adequate time to get a postcard in the mail, and I'm also fine with the reimbursement aspect. All I would like is before I have to offer a decision, is a bigger opportunity, a more robust opportunity for the public to have their say.
Understood, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion before we close the public hearing? All right, it sounds like we're going to need a motion to table this. Commissioner Malloy, since it's your recommendation to table, you want to go ahead and make the motion?
I will, Matt. What's 14 days from today? Where does that take us? What's our next?
August 11th.
August 11th.
Thank you.
Yep, so the public
Okay.
hearing is closed. Go ahead with the motion.
Madam Chair, I move to table the adoption of Resolution 2533 as listed on the agenda to August 11th, 2020, and would ask that the presenters notice the public with a postcard for comment or feedback on the project.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it, motion carries. And then I would just suggest if you have any questions at all, just shoot us the draft language. And then we can just, take a look and thumbs up or add or whatever, just to make sure that there's no questions when you come back in 14 days, that it's all covered.
Perfect,
Yeah,
thank you.
we can move forward. Okay. All right, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Upstairs for legal.